Hello, Bev here. I'm going to give you a little chat today about, I've actually called it What's Your Problem? Okay, so it's how you approach that moment when you stand up to give a speech, and that depends a lot on why you are giving that speech. Excuse me. And that proves it's live. Now, we're not talking about the fact that you have to give a speech to pass, your GCSEs in college, or your boss is making you give a speech because he just can't be bothered to do it. Instead, to really give a good speech, you must know that the speech, what the speech is designed to do. Let me repeat that. You need to know what the speech is designed for, what you want it to do, what you want it to achieve. And by identifying what that goal is, what the goal of the speech is, and what you want the audience to experience or to go away with, that will give you a lot of information, both of what kind of content to use, but it also helps you on your attitude and approach when you actually get ready to give the talk. Now, there are some very, very basic reasons that someone gives a speech. There are those that are there to inform. You are trying to convince, maybe to amuse or to cause an action, or, to get people to do something. But many speeches, and I'm sure you've heard them, there is a combination of these motivations. Okay, like a sermon is there to inspire, and that's a mixture of, to convince and to get people to do something. It causes action. And a lecture in school or in college or at university, that's to inform. Well, if you get lucky, it's to inform. The teacher or whoever's giving that lecture will try to make the presentation filled with what they're trying to tell you, but they'll also try to amuse you. So the first thing to ask yourself when you have to, when you have your topic and you know your audience, you need to know, and you need to ask yourself, what am I doing with this speech? And a speech intended to sell something is a variation. It's a variation on that to convince format. Okay. So a good question to ask when you're ready to put your presentation together is, what do I want my audience to do with this information? Okay. Now, if you want them to walk away with new information that makes them smarter people, you are speaking to inform. If you want them to laugh and have a great time, well, then you're out there to amuse. And if you want them to go out and use your website to join your political party or to stop hurting the ozone layer, the objective of your speech is to convince. Now, you'll not necessarily announce when you start speaking what your objective is. Very few people stand and go, I am now going to amuse you, or I am now going to convince you to do. Sometimes it's obvious, okay. For instance, if you're addressing a class at college, school, university, it's obvious you are there to inform the students. But you may also be looking to convince them to live a certain way or to take some other action with the information you are giving. It really depends on your role within that environment. A speech to amuse is very often also a very softly worded sermon on behaviour, because people react to humour. Watch any comedian and you will hear small snippets of philosophy such as, people, we are all the same, we just have to learn to live together, in the middle of the comedy set. Now, that comic is actually out to convince you to change your outlook and behaviour, but is using comedy as the tool to that end. Now, these are all very valid adaptations on the basic forms of a speech. And to make sure your talk reaches its primary talk, lay down the outline or the skeleton of the speech. And I've done a thing around how you structure your speech. But lay out that outline with your primary goal in mind. You might even back into it, write the conclusion first. The conclusion might be, and so, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you can see that using mass transit will do a lot to help the ozone layer. And from there, you can go back into the body of the speech and lay down again at the skeleton layer what your 3 points of the body of your speech is. Now, these are the things that must get done. And you will evaluate whether you're successful by whether you get those action points across or whether people go out and do what you want them to do. So with that skeleton done, you can go back and start writing the speech from the beginning and use any or all of the public speaking approaches to layer that on top of the core reason for your talk. You can use humour, inspirational stories, urban myths or factoids from history, and they'll help your speech be fun, it'll be compelling, and it'll be attention grabbing. And if by the end of your talk, though you can tell that you hit that primary goal, then your speech has been well constructed. And a well-constructed speech is easier to give. It's also easier for your audience to hear. So it's a win-win. Everybody wins. So I hope you can take that away, and I hope that will help you for the next big speech you need to give. Okay, talk again soon. Bye.